Can you guess what Canada's household savings rate is? Not 20%, not even 10%, but 6%. And it's easy to think that there's no way out of it, but there is. There always is. You can reach a much higher savings rate by going against the grain and making a plan.
Translate this into an emotional concept.
And sticking to it. So in this video today, I want to share with you how we as a household, so my husband T and I, saved 40% of our income last year. And yes, I will share how much money we made and how much we saved, and more importantly, how we plan to increase our savings rate to 70%. Now first, the hard truth up front. To save more, there is no secret, and you know how it works. Here's what's worked for us. When our household income was still very low, our focus had to be on lowering expenses. When you live in a big city and only earn $60,000, the only chance you have at saving more money is by being extremely frugal. And I've done that. For a few years, we rented a 325 square foot studio, a cozy space, but we're very happy we're past that stage now. So I must say that I've hesitated sharing the details of our income and expenses because even though I'm a YouTuber, I'm a very private person. But since I make financial content, I thought it's only fitting that I also share a bit about my personal journey. So I hope you take it the right way, that my intention is not to brag, not that there's anything to brag about, but to share my experience and to hopefully motivate some of you out there. Now to the numbers. Over the years, we've increased our income, and in 2024, we've reached a household pre-tax income of almost $160,000. Our after-tax income was about $122,000, and this is not only after taxes, but also CPP and EI. Note that we could be off by plus minus 5%. We haven't filed our taxes yet, so there's some guesswork going into it, which comes down to an average tax rate of 22.2%. And this is only because we have made RSP contributions in 2024, which reduce our taxable income. If we had not done this, our average tax rate would probably be closer to 28%. If you don't have an RSP or TFSA yet, be sure to consider opening these registered accounts so you too can reduce your tax bill. You can easily open an RSP or TFSA with online investment platforms like Wealthsimple. I've opened my account with them 4 years ago and love it because it's just so easy to use and there are no trading fees or account fees. I've put the link in the descriptions down below in case you're interested, and if you use my referral code, both you and I will each get a bonus of $25. Now, how much did we save? To calculate this, let's look at our household expenses, which were, I still hate looking at the number, is about $73,000. It shot up by quite a lot last year, mainly because of our mortgage. And tell me in the comments below, do you think that $73,000 is a lot for two people living in Toronto or not? How much do you spend per year? So if we subtract $73,000 in expenses from our net income of $122,409, we have a savings of $49,138. If we divide that by our net income, we get a savings rate of 40.1%. Am I happy about this number? Well, yes and no, because our savings rate dipped slightly compared to 2023. So let's also quickly look at 2023 as a comparison. 2023 was a crazy, exhausting, but rewarding year because that was the first year we surpassed $100,000 in income in Canada, earning almost $109,000 in pre-tax income. And our income after tax, CPP and EI was almost $86,000. Our expenses were about $10,000 lower at the time, and I have an explanation for that. In the first half of 2023, we were still living in that super cramped studio apartment and only took up our mortgage mid-year. And we were also still on our old budget where we were living frugal, which is not by any trash bin bags frugal. Anyways, we managed to save about $36,000 that year, and our savings rate was slightly higher at 42.7%. So two important things we learned going from 2023 to 2024. Even when your income goes up significantly, like in our case by almost 50%, if your expenses also go up, in this case by 15%, your savings rate will not go up by the same rate and can even stay the same. We realized that if we wanted to increase our savings rate further, things had to change, and there were only 3 ways. 1, lower our expenses significantly, or 2, increase our income by a lot more, and 3, find ways to save more on taxes, or a combination of all of these. Now, let me tell you what we decided to do going forward. And this might not apply to you, but it was the best strategy for us. Looking at our budget and going through line by line, we realized we didn't want to cut our expenses further. We were spending $10,000 more than the year before and felt we had arrived at a quality of life that was, let's say, optimal. We don't really splurge, but we spend the money on things that matter to us, which includes the mortgage of our condo and various fees, which adds up to $3,200 each month. Another big increase came from traveling back to Indonesia, where our family is, each year, an expense we definitely didn't want to cut. So since we didn't want to go for strategy 1, expense cutting, that left us only with increasing income and reducing taxes. At least that is what works for us. Whether you want to go the income increasing route or the cost cutting route, the important thing is just that you got to be honest with yourself and make the hard decision necessary to increase your savings. If your strategy of choice is to save more money by reducing expenses, then this video here might help you. Anyways, our grand plan for the next 2 years to get to 70% savings rate was to work on increasing our income and reducing taxes. In 2025, the plan is to increase our household pre-tax income to $251,000. This would be 60% more than we earned in 2024, and I know it sounds like an aggressive plan. Sure, we might not achieve this and I may fall flat, but I have a reason to be optimistic about it. Tracking the first months of 2025, we are already on track to earn about $220,000 this year, so if we step up the game further, it could get us to the $250,000 mark. At this point, you might be wondering how we make our money. My husband, he is an accountant. He makes more than the average accountant though, because he's in a very specialized field. He has increased his income multiple times in the past years by anywhere from 10 to 70% by either moving to a different company or negotiating his pay at his existing company. To reduce expenses, one major part taxes, he will continue to contribute to his RSP as he has done before. And as you know, yours truly is a content creator who is on track to doubling her income in 2025, who was a sole proprietor, that's a business with a single person, who now is incorporated. I'll stop referring to myself in third person now. And you might know that corporate income is taxed at a lower rate than personal income. So with that, we plan to reduce our overall tax burden. Note that this is a very rough estimation of taxes, as we'll only know for sure after we've actually earned the money and filed. Combined, we aim for an after-tax income of about $206,000 in 2025. And I know it sounds like a huge number, at least to me. The other thing we got to control is our expenses. I mean, really control our expenses, because it's so easy to fall into lifestyle inflation once your income goes up. So we plan to cap our expenses at $81,000, which is still high, about 10% higher than last year, but not too crazy. This will hopefully make it possible for us to save almost $125,000, which brings us to a savings rate of 60%. And again, I know this sounds a bit ambitious, but this is what this channel is for, guys. For people like you who are ambitious at heart, who want to make progress in life, making a living doing what you love, and even achieve financial freedom. By the way, I'm really curious to know, where are you in your savings journey? What savings rate are you at now? And what rate are you trying to achieve? Please do let me know in the comments down below. Also, what some of your methods and tips are. So if, let's say, we achieved 60% savings rate, how do we plan to get to 70% then? You might have guessed it, we're planning to rinse and repeat the same strategy. 2026 is still very hard for me to imagine, but when we were earning less than $60,000 combined, it was also hard to imagine that we'd ever get to $150,000, but here we are. So we're aiming at a combined pre-tax income of $375,000, which is 50% higher than what we expect in 2025. Here it becomes more fuzzy, but the after-tax income might be around $280,000 and probably more once I learn all the ways to save more in taxes. And here you might say, that's crazy. I can't even get a 10% raise at my job. And I get it, it's not easy. You really gotta get creative. Look for a better job, perhaps even in a whole new industry where you can get paid much more. Even better, start a business, because as business owner, your income ceiling is really unlimited. Something we do want to limit are our expenses, which we hope to keep at $83,000, which is only 2% more. Impossible, you might say? As in the previous years, we've increased expenses by as much as 10%. Well, back then we were not at our optimal expense level yet, I would say. But now that we are, we really hope to keep our expenses in check and not fall prey to further lifestyle inflation, but rather optimize within the budget that we have. So let's say that everything works out. We'd potentially have a savings of $195,000 $34,000, which brings us to a savings rate of 70%. And again, of course, this could be achieved another way, for example, by staying at our current income and just cutting down our expenses, let's say by 50 or 70%. I haven't done the math yet. But is it sustainable or even possible for us? My answer is no. Now, after all of this number crunching, why does the savings rate even matter so much, even more than the absolute savings itself? Why is it that even people who earn an absurd high income might never reach financial independence in their lives? If you ever want to be financially independent, that's when you have enough investments to cover all of your living expenses without needing to work. Your savings rate is super important. A difference between a savings rate of 20 and 80% means the difference between working 6 years and 37 years. Let's look at this chart here that tells it all. Let's say you earn a magnificent $300,000 per year in after-tax income. If you save $30,000 or 10% of that, it will take you a whopping 51 years until you achieve financial independence. And why is that? The flip side of saving $30,000 means that you spend $270,000, which in turn means that you will need to save an awful lot of money to maintain your living standard. On the other hand, let's say you earn $100,000 and save $60,000 or 60% of your income, which is rather high. In that case, it will take you only 12 years to reach financial independence. And that's possible because you are able to live on a much lower amount of $60,000, so you need to save up less. And that's why, yes, it's important to manage both variables. Income, keep increasing it, and expenses, keep it in check, if not reduce it. If you want to learn more about how you can reduce the taxes you pay on your income by thousands of dollars each year, check out this video next.